I'm Styleboy and welcome to my world. Ha! I know guys, I haven't made a music video in like 3 months and we're gonna change that today. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna talk about my favorite albums ever. We're ranking my favorite albums basically. And honestly, I love these kind of videos. We're talking about like favorites and stuff like that. I actually did this like 3 years ago when I was like 18. My taste has changed from then, like majorly changed. This is all just my opinion. Tell me your favorite albums down below. Tell me any albums that you think I would enjoy from this list. I'm a pop kid, I'm a pop brat. I love pop, R&B, country, and K-pop. You also might as well, while you're down in the comments, subscribe. Come on, we can have a fun time sharing music together, you know? And without further ado, let us begin with number 10. So number 10 actually is a tie. I don't know if we're starting off strong or weak, and it is tied between BTS B and Kelsey Ballerini's Unapologetically. Honestly, both are incredible albums for 2 very different reasons. Like yesterday, kind of like finalized my top 10, and when it came to 10, these 2 were like fighting each other, and I'll explain why. So with BTS B, my K-pop heart was so happy when this came out. It came out last year with the pandemic being a fucking mess, and I feel like it really had a good balance of kind of being comforting while being fun, and I loved it so much. I actually watched Ashley's reaction to it first before listening to it for myself, and I was able to understand, because what she does in her video, she puts like the translations in English, which is amazing. And I think especially at the first one, which like Life Goes On and Blue and Grey, oh my god bitch, I was almost crying yesterday. It was just so good. And then I love the second half, because the second half has 2 of my favorites from this album, and I love the production. It's fun, but it still feels like them, especially if you listen to their older stuff. Like this album, oh, I just love it. My favorites from this one were like Disease, Bitch Disease. Disease is aged like fine wine, Stay, and Life Goes On. With Kelsey Ballerini's album, Unapologetically, it's the storytelling for me. What can I say? I love a storytelling album. And I feel like she just tells such a nice story, and the way she describes stuff just, oh, it's so nice. This album for me is like a huge comfort album. I really love this because I feel like this reminds me of like autumn and like just wanting to bundle up. I always put on this album when I'm just like needing like a source of comfort and warmth, and this album will always be there. And I was listening to it yesterday and I still felt that kind of comfort, that kind of warmth, and I just honestly love it so much. Especially if you like country Taylor era, you are going to love this. My favorites from this album are Miss Me More, Unapologetically, and End of the World. End of the World is beautiful. Also, what I'm going to do is recommend an album that I also liked. I think you will also enjoy if you listen to both. So I think if you like BTS B, you are going to enjoy Rainbow Boy by Keenan Longsail. I love him so much. I also want to be my man, but that's another story for another day. Honestly, his music is so good, and I feel like with both, although talking about very different topics, because I think with Keenan's, he's talking about like his identity about being a black queer man, while BTS is talking about like lockdown. But they both kind of have that emotional vulnerability while still being fun and enjoyable to listen to. And with Kelsey Ballerini's, yeah, I was really struggling with this because the only thing I thought of was like country Taylor, so I guess like Fearless Taylor's version, okay? Especially after like Mr. Perfectly Fine. Okay, my number 9, talking of Taylor, is Taylor Swift Reputation. The bad bitch era, the most baddest bitch ever. This is like a Swifties favorite, and I see why. Because it's so good. I went to see this in concert, and honestly, it just blew me away. My life changed forever. And honestly, I have to say, it changes the meaning of the album when you see it in concert. And I feel like, especially with this album, you just see it and you see her vision and her vocal performance. So don't blame me, but live. The production is incredible. And I was gonna say, this is the one era I feel like, yes, there's the betrayal and distrust and almost this bad girl era, but it's almost like at the same time like a love story. And that's what Loads of 50 said. It's a love album and it's a love story disguised as a bad girl era, you know? And we love to see it. But also, I just honestly love it so much because it's just like, I feel like this is her one album where her vocals and the production was like at play most. And I feel like this is something that, again, if you listen to like Taylor, you wouldn't expect it, but it suits her so well. I just love it so much. And I think this album honestly just ages like fine wine. Like honestly, again, like I listened to this yesterday, my life changed forever. It's just so good. My favorites from this album, I Did Something Bad and then Don't Blame Me. Don't Blame Me, bitch. Don't Blame Me is on another level, especially when she does like the gospel and then she just breaks out into vocal runs. You're just like, No one expects it. So when she did do that, we're like, girl, where did this come from? And we need more. And King of My Heart. King of My Heart, it just slowly become one of my favorites. It's aged like fine wine. I love it so much. And if you like this album, you're gonna love Blackpink, the album, okay? That bad girl, bad bitch, everything. Like that energy, it's so similar in Blackpink's the album. And production's similar. And I just think you would enjoy it. So my number 8, which was, okay, previously was my number 2. Shocking, I know. My number 8 album is Ariana Grande, Dangerous Woman. As I said, I'm a pop brat. This was Ari's like last official like pop album. I freaking love it. I remember listening to this for the first time in 2016 and I was just blown away. I remember this came out also during my like GCSEs and I remember just constantly just listening to it. I was listening to it while studying. I was saying like touch shit was like me during exams. Like Dangerous Woman will always have a special place in my heart. Bad bitch, fun, ass album. I also love it because she plays so much with production. It just makes me so happy because there's so much of production wise that I just adore and I wish she would do again or at least experiment with more because I feel like she would so do well at it. It reminds me so much of like my music taste when I was like 16, 17. My favorites from this album are Greedy because disco influenced pop is some of my favorite and I think she totally nailed this. New Better / Forever Boy because of that song. I used to be hooked on that song and I love the switch, how it went from like one side to another. It was so good. And thirdly is Sometimes remind me so much of like, I don't know why, but like 2000s R&B. For some odd reason, I'm gonna love Sometimes. Now, if you love Dangerous Woman, I have 2 recommendations this time. So firstly, if you want something from the same era, obviously Fifth Harmony 27/7. But if you want some sort of like versatility and a modern album, I think Doja Cat's Hot Pink. Like I was generally thinking about it, I was like, both albums don't really stick to one sound. They kind of play with so many different sounds, so many different vibes and everything. So I feel like you would enjoy it and I feel like you'd have a good time listening to Hot Pink. Literally what's quite funny is because one half of my 10 to literally number 6 are all black and white albums. Black and white albums just be doing something, okay? My number 6 is LM5 by Little Mix. I love this album. This was a grower on me. LM5 is just that bitch, okay? LM5 is that feminist, badass, 90s R&B influence. She did what she needed to do and she is underrated to the world. If Lil Mix got more hype, this album would blow up because this is everything that I feel like everyone's been wanting. This album is just so good and it's what I think so many fans of Lil Mix have been wanting for so long, and I agree, this is what I've been wanting because it feels so them and it feels like it feels grown up but it still feels fun. It's like sexy and powerful and empowered yet still quite vulnerable in some elements and I just love it so much. This album just ages so well. It ages like fine ass wine. And again, it has such another special place in my heart because I went to see this live and this was so much fun live. This was such a good time. I just love it so much. So my favorites from this album are Think About Us. Oh my god, it's just so good. Wasabi, because Wasabi makes me want to Vogue and also have like a fan. And also a Motivate. That song makes me feel like the sexiest, the baddest bitch ever. If you like this, you're going to love Lizzo's Because I Love You. They both make me feel the same. Basically, you'll love both. Also, I keep on saying that was number 6. This is actually number 7. Number 6 is Future Nostalgia. Now, if you know my reaction to this, I was blown away. I was floored. This was like the best album of 2020. This album is another album that ages like freaking fine ass wine. Oh my god, it's so good. It's almost like ageless, which is what I love. And that's probably because of the sound being this like vintage 70s, 80s inspired era, reminiscent of like what I used to love as a kid. And I just feel like she just did something that I feel like all the girls just were not doing. Also, this era has to be one of the best eras ever. Oh, she just did something so magical and I feel like it just makes you feel elevated and it makes you feel powerful and fun and young. I say young, I'm 21, but I just know this album, it just literally transformed everything. I feel like this was like one of the albums that just took my breath away and just really transformed the industry in a good way. And honestly, I adore it so much. It's so fun and it will forever be a fave. My favorites from this album, I called this the Holy Trinity because they're also right next to each other. Physical, because Physical, the music video, oh my god, I seriously love that song so so much. And I feel like anytime I forget about it, I'm just like, I just listen to it and I'm like, oh my god, I'm in love. Levitating, because Levitating is basically that girl. She really said summer 2020, here we come. And I'm Pretty Please. Y'all are sleeping on Pretty Please. Give her credit where it's due. Love her to death. I feel like Love Again is also coming into that list as well. If you liked this album, oh, you're going to love Emotion by Carly Rae Jepsen. Now, this is another underrated, like, snubbed album. Oh my god, this should have got so much more awards because it's so good. And I know that, like, with Dua's album, it's a lot more like 70s influence, like 70s disco. But I feel like a lot of it, because it's some 80s references, you'll love the vintage sound of it. I just love both. So please go and listen to Emotion. Give Carly Rae Jepsen credit where she is due. Okay, now we're into my top 5. Top 5. These albums are... they're just flawless to me. So my number 5 is my queen Sabrina Carpenter with Singular Act 1. I remember when this came out, so this was 2018. This album came out and I was also blown away. I was not expecting to be this good because I was like jamming out to Almost Love like literally like that summer of 2018. And basically Almost Love was everything. And then I remember when the album came out, I just was so like, Sabrina, what the fuck did you just do? What magic did you put in me? My standout thing is the production vocals. I feel like she really knew how to do it. I feel like she really brought something so different and it felt like her. I liked her before, but this made me go into stan territory. I officially stan her from this album. This is another album that makes you feel super confident, super badass, super just bold. And I feel like I love the production, how there's a lot of like orchestra and more like guitars mixed with like trap influenced beats. It was just so good. It is such a good album. Like, if you have not listened to this, go and listen to all of these, but like especially my favorites from this album are Almost Love, because that bitch is never going to age. Sue Me, because that makes me want to become Elle Woods. And my third favorite, which is probably one of my favorites from her ever, is Diamonds Are Forever. That song, everything about it is just gold. Like, it's a masterpiece in itself. Like, if she honestly released this as a pure single, the music video would have been epic. She could just be walking down the stairs, she can be all glam and like a ball gown with like pearls wrapped around her. It is just everything. If you like this album, obviously listen to part 2 and also listen to Max Color Vision. I feel like you will really enjoy Color Vision if you like this. Color Vision is a fun ass album. Blueberry Eyes, yes honey, you need to listen to it. It is so good. If you like Singular Act 1, you will like Color Vision. Now, number 4, another unexpected one that literally just blew me away, captivated me, makes me feel like I'm floating on cloud 9, that I've been transported to like a rich jungle. This album literally is an example of black excellence, and that is Victoria Monet's Jaguar. This album, the era also, she is a queen. If you know Victoria Monet, you know that she writes or helps write for Ariana. But if you listen to her music, especially this album, it's so incredible. This and Future Nostalgia were like fighting heads for my 2020 ranking. And I feel like now for my overall ranking, this album just beats it. I love it so much. This honestly does transport me and makes me feel something and go through an experience. And when an album does that, makes you experience something new or experience something that is just so like captivating, it's truly incredible. And I love it so much. It's so beautiful and so, I was gonna say majestic. When I think of majestic, I think of a majestic pony. Incredible and smooth and beautiful and just such an incredible era. I know this is actually part of a bigger piece she's going to release, which is I'm even more excited about. You guys need to listen to this album. Like, this is one that I feel like was really underrated. My favorites from this album are Dive. Dive is that one song that I truly felt like I was going through a story with. And I know that like I love storytelling as an album, but like honestly, like as a song, Jaguar, because that is basically one of my favorite songs ever. That song makes me want to dance, makes me just feel so good. And my third favorite from the album, I'd probably say is Experience, because Experience is a bomb-ass. Now, if you liked this album, you will love Ryan Ashley's Innocent. Now, this is an EP and it's so underrated. Now, I know it hasn't exactly got the same like 70s disco influenced sound, but to me, they both have a very old R&B sound. Like, they're both not a very current R&B, they're both very old and almost like vintage, and I just think you love it. Also, Ryan Ashley's vocals are on another fucking level. They're on another planet, baby. You need to listen to it if you love this, because you will be swept away, blown away. Okay, my number 3, childhood Steph would be screaming right now. And that is Say This With Speak Now. This album ruled my 2010, and I feel like as I've got older, especially now being like 21, I've actually really relate to this, because this album really tells about life and about growing up. And again, particularly the ages of like 20 and 21, it really just emotionally just takes you. And I feel like there's so many songs that makes you just really feel it in your chest and really just go like, whoa, she really has explained this well. This album also has some of my favorite songs ever by her. The fact that she wrote this all by herself, mind-blowing. The production is incredible. This just blows me away, and it's another experience. And I feel like every time I listen to this, I'm just constantly just like, whoa. I love it so much, and it's so incredible. My favorite songs from this are Enchanted. Enchanted is actually my wedding song, but also it's one of my favorite Taylor Swift songs ever. I love this song so much. Again, it's another experience. It makes me feel things, and oh my god, like even thinking about it makes me smile, because it's such a beautiful song and it just blows me away every single time. My second favorite is Long Live. My third favorite, it's always tied. It is between Haunted, Innocent, because I know I still relate to that. That's actually my song that helps me calm down, and Sparks Fly. Sparks Fly is just so beautiful. I just remember when me and my twin sister Soap and children, we were just jamming out to that song so much. Just the memories and nostalgia. And if you like this, I'm gonna have to say something from that era, so I guess you will enjoy A Year Without Rain by Selena Gomez in the Scene. Such a good album. You will love it, so please go and listen to that as well. Okay, number 2. I constantly will rave about this album forever. This album is so underrated, so incredible, such a beautiful storytelling, such an incredible experience, and that is Language by Emanike. I even have the vinyl behind that. I love this album. Like, I remember listening to this, and again, it blew me away. I was not expecting this album when this came out, but I was just like, whoa. It is one of these albums that I relate to so much emotionally as a gay man. There is so much in there that emotionally just captivates me. Also, production-wise, there's some of the best songs I've ever heard. Honeymoon Phase, so incredible. Again, it tells such a beautiful story with the arts of like interludes and how everything just smoothly transitions into each other, that it doesn't feel blocky, it doesn't feel like, oh my god, we're jumping from one thing to another. It's like everything is just so incredible, and this album is truly telling such an incredible story that you need to just listen to. I love it, and I think this album has so much meaning to like other queer people, other black queer people, makes this album mean even more for me, because I think this impact of this album is just so amazing and incredible and just astonishing, making people feel seen and feel heard, and also like proud of their identity. Emanike, we stan you. My favorites from this album, obviously Honeymoon Phase, because I literally cannot stop fangirling about that song. Number 2, Body. Body sliding into Honeymoon Phase. Truly incredible. And I love Body because it just feels like you're falling in love for the first time. And thirdly is Touched By You, the last song. That song is so beautiful. And I love that it's so simple, but I feel like sometimes like the simplest sounds make the best music. And I feel like for this one especially, it just does something as well. Now, if you love this, obviously you're gonna love Rina Sawayama, because I feel like they both, again, both storytell in such an effective way, but also both play with production, different sounds and different genres and whatever, and I feel like it's so fun, and I feel like you will really enjoy it. And number 1, As if I didn't make it clear enough. Number 1 is 1989 by Taylor Swift. This album just means so much to me, and it forever does. I remember when this album came out, and it was so needed for like such a crucial part of my life when I was dealing with like, I guess like fake friends. And this album has just taken me through every other experience that I dealt with, and I feel somehow that this album has also grown up with me, which is weird, but it's just still always been there, and I will forever love it. I love the message of this album. Now, if you don't know the secret messages, the last track, Secret Message, is what's so important, which is she lost him but found herself, and somewhat that was everything. You truly can relate to it, and you can put it in any circumstance of your life. This album, for me, means so much. Production is some of my favorites. There are so many songs in this album that have just grown with me, that are some of my favorite songs of all time, and will forever be my favorite songs of all time. My favorite, which is that 80s synth pop, and constantly just like this incredible experience that I feel like, honestly, I just love. And every time that I listen to it, I just love it. My favorites on this album are Style. Style is another one of my Taylor Swift all-time favorite songs by her. There's something in this song that is just so perfect. Like, it's literally the perfect pop song. Out of the Woods also, Shake It Off. No, I honestly do love it, and although like the hype died down with it, I still love it. How You Get the Go, I love. I Know Places is such a good song. You're in Love, we cannot forget about New Romantics, bitch. If you love this album, I think you'll love Bloom by Troye Sivan. I think these two especially you will really, really enjoy. But yeah, that is my top 10 favorite albums of all time. Make sure you subscribe, because next week something very exciting is coming. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week, and I shall see you guys next week with the most exciting thing that's happening to me in a while. Bye!